how do you see technology in the next 10 years from now?
Let's see, 10 years, it's always difficult to predict technology with precision, especially over a 10-year time frame when it is changing so much. I think artificial intelligence is something we need to be quite concerned about and really be attentive to the safety of AI. You mentioned ChatGPT earlier. I played a significant role in the creation of OpenAI. Essentially, at the time, I was concerned that Google was not paying enough attention to AI safety, and so I, with a number of other people, created OpenAI. And although initially it was created as an open source nonprofit, and now it is closed source and for profit. I don't have any stake in OpenAI anymore, nor am I on the board, nor do I control it in any way. But the ChatGPT, I think, has illustrated to people just how advanced AI has become. Because the AI has been advanced for a while, it just didn't have a user interface that was accessible to most people. So what really ChatGPT has done is just put an accessible user interface on AI technology that has been present for a few years. And there are much more advanced versions of that are coming out. So I think we need to really be, I think we need to regulate AI safety, frankly. Because if you think of any technology which is potentially a risk to people, like if it's aircraft or cars or medicine, we have regulatory bodies that oversee the public safety of cars and planes and medicine, and I think we should have a similar sort of regulatory oversight for artificial intelligence, because it is, I think, actually a bigger risk to society than cars or planes or medicine. And this may slow down AI a little bit, but I think that might also be a good thing. The challenge here is that government regulatory authorities tend to be set up in reaction to something bad that happened. So if you look at, say, aircraft or cars, the cars were unregulated at the beginning, aircraft were unregulated, but they had lots of airplane crashes, and a lot of people were dying. So the public was not happy about that, and so they established a regulatory authority to improve safety. And now commercial airliners are extremely safe. In fact, they're safer than if you were to drive somewhere. Commercial airliner is better than a car, and cars are also extremely safe compared to where they used to be. But if you look at, say, the introduction of seatbelts, the auto industry fought the introduction of seatbelts as a safety measure for, I think, 10 or 15 years before finally the regulators made them put seatbelts in cars, and that greatly improved the safety of cars, and that airbags were another big improvement in safety. So my concern is that with AI, if there's something bad, if something goes wrong, the reaction might be too slow from a regulatory standpoint. So I'd say, like, if I'd say, like, what are the biggest risks to the future of civilization? The AI is a double, it's both positive and negative. It has great promise, great capability, but it also, with that comes great danger. I mean, you look at, say, nuclear, just discovery of sort of nuclear physics. You had nuclear power generation, but also nuclear bombs.
Can you tell us briefly about your philosophy of education? And number two, do we need 12 years of schooling and 4 years of university?
Well, With respect to education, I think in general, some things that we could do to make it more compelling would be to explain to children why we are teaching a particular subject. The human mind has evolved to really forget anything that it deems unimportant. So, in fact, human memory is really quite bad relative to, say, the memory of your phone. But human memory is terrible by comparison. So, the mind is constantly trying to forget things. Actually, if you explain the why a subject is being taught, that will then establish relevance, and it's much more likely to result in motivation for kids. And then also, if you teach knowledge, especially in the sciences, as solutions to a problem, it's much more effective. So, like, let's say you're trying to understand an internal combustion engine. Well, it's actually better to sort of take that apart and then say, okay, well, what tools do we need to use to take it apart? We need a wrench and screwdriver and various other things to take it apart. Well, then you understand that the reason for the tools. And so, like for mathematics and are like tools in physics and engineering. But if you teach to the problem and then you understand, then you establish the relevance of the tools, then it's actually much easier to remember mathematics and physics because they help explain how the world works, as opposed to teaching them without explaining why and simply teaching them. It's like instead of teaching to the problem, currently people teach the tool. It would be like having a course on screwdrivers or a course on wrenches, but not understanding why you have a course you're learning about screwdrivers and wrenches. I think this is really quite a fundamental principle that should be applied in education.
So is it 12 years of schooling you are with or without 12 years?
12 years is a long time, I suppose. I suppose it could be done in 10 years. Perhaps it does not need 12. So I guess 12 years is probably not bad. We probably don't need an additional 4 or 5 or 6 years in college or university. That seems probably excessive. I think we would probably shave a few years off and be fine.
Okay.